I got broads in Atlanta, just to go lean the family. Credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the van. Legacies, family, wait and see, look like a panda. Going out like a Montana, honey killers on their hands. Legacies, family, wait and see, family. Pockets full, down.
I'll let you start.
All right, sounds good. 3, are you ready?
I'm good.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Trashy Ring Attire. I am BD.
And I'm Q.
And it's time to get trashy. We're back.
We are back after a long hiatus, but well, I don't want to say long, but it was a bit of a hiatus that we needed to catch our breath during WrestleMania.
Well, we were all in the classy ring attire guy stuff when we were down there anyway.
That's true.
For anybody that doesn't know, I went to take a lovely trip to North Carolina, my first, and Q was there too, and we all watched WrestleMania. That was a super good time. I did like 5 hours of podcasting with those fucking guys. Like, God, I love them.
Yeah.
But I don't. Holy God Almighty.
I mean, there were 5 interesting hours, and I mean, I enjoyed listening to it. I just finished the way too soon or way too early WrestleMania predictions yesterday that you guys did, and that was fine. I mean, Blair, I will say you definitely came down at the appropriate time, right before they actually started implementing the enforcing of the HB2 laws, where. I mean, we lucked out. We both did not have to, take out our junks before we entered the bathrooms of our selective choosing, or of our biological choosing. Excuse me.
Which I absolutely would have done if given half the chance.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, our sympathies to Joel and Blair. Joel and Chris. For having to go through that, but
Yeah, what are you gonna do? You took me to Walmart to see how you could buy guns at Walmart, which is still a thing that blows my mind.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty great. and the wrestling. If anybody is interested in like way too extensive thoughts on WrestleMania, check out the last 2 episodes of Classy Ring Attire. I was on them. We went through in way too much detail in retrospect, going over the weekend. So. What do you like? Do you have I figured we were I was trying to think of you while we were doing it. I figured we were pretty much on the same page with like most of it. Is there anything else you want to add? Or I'm guessing your highlights were Sasha, Nakamura. What else am I missing?
I mean, honestly, that's about it. I all of NXT.
The whole NXT show was great.
I love that Asuka beat Bayley, and
and
the reason why I enjoyed watching that match in particular, and it was a standout match, even amongst the like the entire weekend. That was a standout match to me, and I know it kind of got overshadowed by the Nakamura Zayn match. Oh, and rightfully so. Don't get me wrong. This is nothing against the women's division, but it was Nakamura and Zayn was just probably match of the year so far. But I really liked Asuka and
Bayley.
And Bayley, because I feel like a lot of credit is not really given to Bayley due to her character, but she wrestled aggressively in that match. Like that was the most aggressive I've seen her wrestle, and it's really showcased her versatility. I can't wait for her to get onto the main roster because I feel like there's just going to be like an amazing opportunity to showcase that particular versatility against like people like Naomi. Obviously we've seen it against Sasha. Charlotte has stepped up her game. To be completely honest, before she hit the main roster, I kind of felt like she was a little overrated, especially compared to Becky and Sasha.
The rest, the new ones,
But she's definitely picked up her game, like her, and now this whole program with Natalya. Not to jump ahead, but I'm sure it's going to improve things. So it's really going to be interesting to see Bayley go up against her, Bayley go up against Becky. It's a really exciting time for women's wrestling, and kudos to Asuka for laying the smackdown. That was fantastic.
Well, the interesting thing about that one too was that in any other weekend or any other series of matches WWE's had this year, Asuka Bayley would have been the match of the year. They had to go on after like the one match of the year that could have possibly topped it.
Yeah, exactly.
For that, like that whole weekend. No, I really loved that. Also, another highlight was just what they did with the women's division in general, which was obviously us. We did that, getting them to change the name and getting to be there in person to see Heather. Heather's reaction to that was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
They didn't really have any inclination that like we knew they were going to get rid of the Diva's name, I think, before WrestleMania, but we didn't have any idea that that they were going to like have a belt or place that kind of renewed focus on it. So yeah, having them be there to like show the belt, and Lita gave like the speech and whatever. I thought that was pretty cool. That was another highlight.
Fantastic, yeah. That belt is like sick looking too. Like
that belt is amazing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it looks better than the one around Roman's waist right now.
Probably. Well, that brings up an interesting point too. You know, how great would it have been if that women's match had went on last?
I think it would have been appropriate. Perfect.
I know. Wouldn't that have, imagine the kind of attention and the positivity you would have got from that? They absolutely could have done it. I mean, you would have needed to end that with a Sasha Banks win, for sure, which is pretty much the only way. Because that, you know, I feel like a lot of the parts of that Divas match got lost in the idea too that because Charlotte won, that took something away from it. And I think it maybe did, but I don't want to gloss over the fact that it was still a very good match.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I completely agree with you, but like it almost borders on nitpicking at that point. Like I feel kind of guilty saying like, well, because Charlotte had to win and they didn't want to make Sasha look weak, I guess they didn't want to have her take the loss. Because her character is as a boss just wouldn't necessarily take it, whereas Becky Lynch, who is an underdog, can kind of survive a loss. And it's interesting because that would mean like Sasha would have to kind of not like I think that's what kind of took her out of a lot of the match, which was unfortunate, but it was still a great match. I mean, they all did fantastic. I'm glad that Becky actually got some time to shine.
Yeah, me too. I like Becky Lynch a lot.
Yeah, I think she still needs to round out her character a little bit, but I think she's getting there. I think she's definitely like she's been much better on the mic every time she steps up on the mic. Her in-ring work is now showcasing a lot more charisma. She's not just coming out like kind of just being a steampunk rocker chick. She's actually like showing a lot of nuance, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Like I think she's learning from being teamed up with Sasha, who like is arguably like the most put together wrestler in general on the whole roster. Like her and Kevin Owens particularly, like they're just they just go in the ring and they do like very CM Punk worthy nuanced shit that like you can't really teach anyone. So it's good to see that Becky Lynch is actually picking up a lot on that.
Yeah, agreed. The other reason why it should have gone on last is what actually went on last, which it's been covered to death. But I just like we talked about the Blair candiness of that and them not pussying out and actually pulling the trigger on what they wanted to do this year. Holy shit!
Did you enjoy your Blair candy?
My God, I said it on the Trashy Ring Attire podcast. It was like all the Mountain Dew I drank, Mountain Dew Voltage I drank while I was down there. I'm not happy that I drank it, but I enjoyed it while I was drinking it. It's definitely that. Like it wasn't fun to. It was almost fun to watch in just how poor. Like they did everything wrong.
Yeah,
there.
They really did.
Everything wrong that we were worried they were going to do. They absolutely did. They stuck to it in an almost artful way. And you know what? You can say what you want to about Triple H. Putting his wife on that fucking whatever the fuck it was she was on and having her scream at the fans. You really couldn't have tried harder to get Roman cheered. But it's such a dichotomy of, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but like she's yelling at them that you're going to get what we want and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think there's too many fans sitting in that crowd. It's just like, no, we know what you want. And that's for us to cheer Roman. And that's not going to happen, which it obviously didn't.
Yeah, it was like that parallel that was made was just amazing. The fact that she actually did that. And I mean, I don't know if they did that on purpose. I hope that they did, because if they did,
I don't think they did.
No, I'm sure, because I know it's giving them too much credit. But the fact that like that was the case was just amazing. That like, we're gonna give you exactly what we want to give you, and you're gonna like it. And it was basically that's what happened. I mean, outside of like you're gonna like it, but like it was
Yeah.
basically the company saying Roman's about to win, and there's nothing you can do about it. And
so ballsy.
yeah,
You gotta admire the balls a little bit.
oh yeah.
You really do. I mean, you could say what you want.
I mean, at this point, it's like it's been such a consistent thing for over years that like I mean, like how many times can you get really upset about this at this point?
Well,
It's
I
just
know.
something to kind of like, I mean, pick apart and kind of find things that you either like can laugh about or I mean, because like they're not going to change it. Like
No.
even now, what they're doing is ridiculous. Like it's like they're trying to correct it. I mean, do we want to keep going post WrestleMania now? Like, am I
Well,
jumping ahead?
yeah, we're kind of rolling in that direction. So let's go with that.
Okay.
The So before we move on to post WrestleMania, the other thing that made and I talked with Joel and Chris about this, and I couldn't really get them to my line of thinking,
Mhm.
which was that the AJ loss at Mania made no sense.
No, it didn't.
And they agreed with me until he won the following night. The point that I made to them was having AJ lose a one-on-one against Jericho. It's not that winning the four-way isn't good to get the number one contendership, but it makes AJ. I think it somewhat discredits AJ from being able to, like, he can't beat Jericho one-on-one. He can sort of beat Jericho with two other guys in the middle of the ring, but he can't beat him straight up. That was the point that I made, and that was why it made no sense. They seem to think that it made a little bit more sense because AJ lost the night before. But I still don't get this whole thing about like Jericho needing to be, somewhat protected and Jericho needing to look credible. Like I think Jericho I thought was great in that four-way match when you have three other very talented guys to help him out. But I didn't think he was very good in that AJ match. Did you?
No, that match was kind of, I mean, lackluster, especially because we've seen these two in the ring three times prior in like the past 2 months, and yeah, Jericho was kind of, he was sleeping, he was on autopilot throughout that whole match. I mean, I don't understand why he won. Even with AJ winning the next night, it still doesn't make sense because it makes AJ's win on Monday night look like a fluke win. So it
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't like, I know where the classy boys are coming from because they're saying like, oh well, they just traded wins. Yeah, but trading wins doesn't make any sense if one of the guys is the number one contender and the other one isn't, and the one that isn't is the one who won the one-on-one match. Like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Trading wins isn't like, this isn't like we're not in class and we're not learning to share. Like this is a storyline. It has to make sense, and that just
Well,
didn't make
and
sense.
yeah, exactly. And the other, like the funny thing about that too is like even in the trading wins scenario, you still have a series of one-on-one matches with AJ and Jericho, which Jericho, if you take the final tally, won.
Yeah.
And yet AJ is the number one contender because he won a match that existed with two other guys in it. Like the AJ win still doesn't make any sense to me. Now that being said, I'm fucking elated that AJ won the match and is the number one contender. Now, you said that what they're doing right now is absolutely ridiculous. So expand on that for me a little bit.
It's a clusterfuck. I feel like they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, especially with Roman Reigns. And I don't know if you watched Monday Night Raw last night or, know what happened. But
I know what happened.
Yeah, all right. So what we basically have is Roman coming out on Monday night, reciting his catchphrase that he has said now 7 times in the span of what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
No, two weeks. It hasn't even been 3 weeks yet. Which will never look good on a shirt. I'm sorry.
It'll never work.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work on a shirt. It's not going to work with a crowd.
No. He might as well have stuck to Suffer and Succotash just to be ironic.
Or tater tots.
Or tater tots. Yeah, it just does this. He comes out, he says this thing. So I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make him a tweener. But a tweener still has fans. Like John Cena.
Yeah, exactly.
John Cena is a tweener. You know what I mean? he's not.
Yeah.
He's never. He's like I think even when Cena was at his most hated, he still had fans. You could hear a "Let's Go Cena" chant throughout the night. It was it might have been the minority, but you heard it.
Yep. I agree
But
with that.
with Roman, there's like no distinction. There is no dichotomy. It is
No.
all booze. Like, and this is like the biggest heel heat that I've heard since Vicky Guerrero. And so, like, try to make him a tweener makes no sense whatsoever.
No.
It doesn't make a lick of sense to put him, if you're trying to put him over as a tweener, to put him against the biggest babyface in the company. And then at the same time, like after last night, like I don't know what they're trying to do with the Bullet Club. I kind of think it's cool, but like it still doesn't necessarily make any sense for AJ not to either own that, or that just not to happen. Like this if you're gonna have the Bullet Club come in and you're still trying to keep AJ like face, they shouldn't have interfered until the match at Payback. Like this just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Roman Reigns is gaining nothing from this.
I suppose I kind of didn't even think about it to that degree, because as soon as AJ won, I thought it doesn't matter what they do now. Mm-hmm. Between the combination of it, to me, it's like when they had Daniel Bryan verbally abusing his girlfriend and cheating to win every fucking match he ever had, and he was the most popular guy in the company at that time as a heel. Mm-hmm. AJ Styles could fucking donkey punch Sasha Banks, and they're not going to boo him against Roman.
No.
They won't. They're not going to do it. It doesn't matter what they do now. They can throw the Bullet Club in there. They could have him be best friends with The Miz. It's not going to fucking matter. Like, it's not in their control anymore. When you choose, when they chose to put Daniel Bryan on that stage as that bad guy, they didn't control what happened then. And AJ, I think, is probably going to be the biggest thing to hit WWE since Daniel Bryan. Now, it remains to be seen if AJ, because they did everything they could to tank Daniel Bryan and it didn't work because the fans just didn't relent. It remains to be seen if they'll beat the fans into submission on AJ. I don't think they will. I hope they don't. And I think AJ is probably safer than we think he is, just because, So to me, you're right. It doesn't make any sense, but it almost doesn't matter what they do with it now. If they run the Bullet Club in and they have him beat the fuck out of Roman for 20 straight minutes, they're going to get cheered.
Yeah. Well, so I'm more speaking on the perspective of like what to do to not get Roman Reigns' career completely slaughtered. Like, because like again, this is not me criticizing Roman Reigns. I like Roman Reigns. I think he has a really big use in the company.
Absolutely.
I think they're squandering the fuck out of his potential, and then that's like the understatement of the century. But WWE is actively working. It seems like they're actively working to kill this guy's career.
Yeah,
and it's upsetting.
Under the guise of helping him.
Yeah, if you really want to make this guy like the top guy in the company, you need to fucking, if he's fighting AJ Styles, he needs to brutalize AJ Styles. He needs to come out, interrupt his matches, beat the shit out of him, and like he needs to be the type of heel that doesn't necessarily need to like, he doesn't necessarily need help to win.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't give a shit. Like he needs to be a Kevin Owens type of heel in the sense of like when Kevin Owens first started in NXT, where he just came in, like interrupted people's matches and beat the shit out of them and injured them. It doesn't make any sense, and he does that to baby faces. You know what I mean? I think it doesn't make any sense for this convoluted mess that they have right now that they're doing with this AJ Reigns feud when they can have gold. Like they can very much. AJ doesn't even need to. Styles doesn't even need to fucking win the title. Like he's gonna be over for a long time. He's gonna be over for years. As long as he's in the company, he's gonna be either the number one or the number two babyface in the company. That's just what's going to happen. He's built that credibility. The problem now is just that like they're trying to do right by Reigns, but they're just, I don't know what it is. Like it just seems like they're doing the complete opposite.
Okay.
So that's just my take on it. Like anytime I watch Roman Reigns' segment, I don't blame the crowd for booing him. I wouldn't be one to boo him. But that doesn't mean that I like what's happening.
No.
As far as the booking goes.
And it's an interesting intersection of the introduction of AJ Styles, which let's not lose sight of the fact that that's only a few months old.
Yeah.
And he's already in the main event of a pay-per-view. On some level, they know what they're doing with AJ. Like, I know that the popular theory is, they're going to tank AJ, they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. But in 3 months, they've put him in the main event of a pay-per-view, and they're not stupid. And they might be stupid enough to think that they can fix it, but they're not stupid enough to think that he's not going to get cheered over Roman Reigns. So the intersection of the push of AJ and the attempted push of Roman is going to be interesting, especially since I thought when we were watching that Raw, I was watching it with the classy guys, I was sure that Jericho was going to win because I thought he beat AJ, it would make sense, which is why AJ losing still makes no fucking sense. But I thought Jericho beat AJ, and now they want Roman to beat another guy who gets booed a lot, which is Jericho, who's a quote-unquote veteran, right? So I thought for sure that was the way they were going with it. But it still wouldn't make a difference. Jericho will get cheered over Roman. Stalin would get cheered over Roman at this point, I think. I don't think it matters what the fuck you do. Like, so it's interesting. And I agree. I still feel bad for Roman too, but they're so determined. They're so ridiculously determined to have this go down the way they want it to go down. Like, what's your best case scenario for AJ Roman? What is your ideal outcome for that match?
Well, right now, there's only one thing that I can see happening.
Okay.
Basically, and consider this me predicting what's going to happen in the next couple of pay-per-views too. So Anderson and Gallows. Excuse me, I am blanking today. Anderson and Gallows are going to continue to try to help AJ throughout the next couple of weeks. AJ will vehemently deny that he's asked for their help, to the point where AJ just gets frustrated and tells him to back off. What'll happen at the pay-per-view is basically AJ will get the upper hand. It'll be a hard-fought match, but somehow AJ will gain the upper hand. Gallows and Anderson will come out, and it'll look like they're going to help AJ, but they turn on him, costing him the match. The next night, Finn Balor comes in, and we get the Balor Club versus AJ Styles for the next couple of pay-per-views. Yeah,
I could see that. I could also see them being silly enough to try an AJ heel turn, where it turns out he was with the Bullet Club the whole time. It'd be it's a horrible idea, but I think especially seeing this now, live with all these shows, I don't think it makes a difference anymore. Like, I really don't think there's anything they can do. AJ is going to get cheered and Roman's going to get booed. When you intersect those two things, it doesn't matter what else you do. Exactly. So I think that I think what you said is a definite possibility, or an AJ heel turn is a possibility. Now, if you were, what's your ideal outcome? The outcome that they probably won't do, but that they will, you could definitely, that they could do to just sort of help to fix this whole thing. I would just have AJ beat the fuck out of Roman. He doesn't need, I'm not talking about like a squash or anything, but I would have AJ decisively beat Roman. And then I would have Roman go the heel turn route.
Yeah, I think that's a good way.
AJ is the most popular guy in the company after 3 months of being in a company most people haven't heard of. So, like that's just that. Would that be your ideal scenario too?
I think my ideal scenario would be either that or have Roman just cheat to win and be disqualified. Like, if you want to do that, then you have an extended feud between AJ and Roman, which is like basically your top heel and top face of the company. Fighting for a couple of pay-per-views and eventually either get AJ Styles to win or build Roman Reigns into such a heel that whoever eventually beats him for the title will basically be the established face of the company. I mean, what they tried to do with Brock Lesnar when he beat the Undertaker's streak, they could do that with Roman Reigns now. Like, Roman Reigns is in that position where, like, whoever beats Roman Reigns is going to garner the biggest pop in the company.
Yeah, agreed. I think Rollins would be a good pick for that, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially because when he comes back, it doesn't matter what they do with him either. Like, he's probably going to get cheered, like, a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's touch on something else real quick. The Miz and Maurice. What the fuck? So, God, I wish you were there for Raw, if for no other reason than you could have seen the debate me and Joel had after The Miz won the belt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just what were your thoughts on that?
It just didn't make. Again, it just didn't make any sense to me. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like they hit the reset button on Monday night, and nothing made sense after that. Like, especially like if you're gonna take the. I understand taking the belt off a Ryder, but why the
yeah.
Miz? Like, why would
Well,
you?
this is
I don't know.
yeah. Well, this is what I assumed that what they were attempting
Mm-hmm.
was they wanted Owens and Zayn in that sort of main event slot for that Raw,
Mm-hmm.
which is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's all good for me. And they wanted, and from there on, even though they didn't win, they were going to transition them to semi-main event after that, which they have kind of done, to be totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good development.
Mm-hmm.
You want to refresh that intercontinental picture to a degree, and that's why you do the Ryder thing. I get that too. I understand that too. But you also have a whole fuck ton more talented guys. Like it's not like that. It's not like that. Great, wrestlers who are getting hugely over died with with Owens and Zayn leaving that intercontinental picture.
I just don't understand why they didn't just have Baron Corbin fill that slot. Like, if you're really going to push a heel, then give that mid card heel heat to a new heel. I mean, I'm not a fan of Baron Corbin, mind you, but if you're going to do it, like, why would you waste it on the Miz?
Yeah,
It just
I
doesn't
didn't.
make any sense.
I didn't. No, it made absolutely no sense to me either. And who is looking to see that? I made the argument to Joe, like, who is looking to see the Miz on WrestleMania? And the thing we always seem to get caught up in is, well, you're supposed to hate Miz. And I was like, yes, I understand that I'm supposed to hate The Miz, but I don't hate The Miz. I'm just not going to watch The Miz because he's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
And like that, as Joel always said, your mileage may vary on that. I understand that. But you have, especially watching NXT, and, with the talent that's on NXT, you could have brought up more than just Enzo and Cass and Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. You could have brought up another guy to do that spot. To your point, Corbin could have done it. I agree with you. But I also think that Joe could have filled that spot nicely.
Yeah.
Aries could have filled that spot nicely. It gets them onto the main roster with AJ, which gives them more talented guys to work with. I mean, I guess it could have been worse. They could have given it to Ryback. Is that worse? I don't know if that's worse.
It's along the same lines. My issue with this whole thing is that, like, NXT is in a very unique situation where you don't really have heels and faces anymore. You just have wrestlers who are fighting each other, and that's like the uniqueness of the product. It's amazing. So the problem that you're going to have with bringing people into the main roster is that people are just going to get cheered if they're from NXT. You know what I mean? Even Baron Corbin, to some extent, got some type of a pop at WrestleMania because he's an NXT guy. The problem now is building, getting some of these wrestlers heel heat. So if that's going to be a problem, that was your opportunity. There was your trigger. It just wasn't pulled. Like, Zack Ryder had arguably one of the biggest moments of WrestleMania, like the biggest face moments of WrestleMania, winning the IC belt. Like, it was just out of nowhere. Everybody loves Ryder. He had that moment with his dad coming in. It was a precious moment that they had. It was a very feel-good moment. So for somebody to ruin that in less than 24 hours, I don't understand how you wouldn't take advantage of that opportunity, especially when you just put, like, probably the most hated, or the second most. I gotta say that Elias Samson guy probably takes that crown right now, but but let's say, like, for all intents and purposes, longevity wise, the most hated guy coming out of NXT. Why you wouldn't give him that heat? It just seems like another wasted opportunity to me.
Yeah, no, and like The Miz, how many times do you go back to that well? I look at Maurice too, and I don't really see the need for her.
No.
Like, not that it's going to hurt The Miz to have her around, but why is she necessary? And the other thing that I always come back to with the Miz is just like I don't necessarily want the Miz fired. He can do his lame talk show or whatever the fuck it is. I'm probably not going to watch it, but he can do it, or he can do like the social media lounge or the panel or whatever the fuck else you want to do, or he can be like a lower card comedy act or whatever. But it seemed like a step back for that belt to me.
No, it is
because I was
definitely.
really into the Intercontinental scene for a while, and I guess that's why I say that. And it's always a tricky thing. And don't get me wrong, the fact that Zayn and Owens are off to better things, I love that idea. But when you have to backfill those slots, NXT, back to your point, does it fairly well. They have a lot of people they can fall back on. WWE just went back to that. I was going to say tried and tested. I guess it has been tried and tested, but it also failed.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I feel like Ryder, if it were against Corbin or if it were against Joe or if it were against somebody like that, having Ryder win the belt and lose it the next night. Some people seem to think that's some sort of a war crime. I guess for Ryder, I'd lost so much hope that even that was more than I thought he'd ever get. But having like a face Ryder chase a heel, I think that would have worked too. Having Ryder try to beat Joe and him just not being able to do it, maybe not even necessarily being able to get close. I feel like that would have been fun to watch. I would have watched that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's because Ryder has a very cult following behind him.
Yeah.
I'm not down on Ryder. I'm definitely not as high as him as his I guess his very loyal fans. He does have a fan base, and that's good. He's not talented. He's definitely good in the ring.
Oh yeah.
He's not the greatest in the ring, but I'd watch him over a lot of the other guys they have in WWE,
including the Miz.
Yeah, including the Miz and including the League of Nations. Minus Alberto Del Rio.
Yes.
By the way, what a travesty! He's being wasted again.
Yeah, it is. He's kind of got lost.
Yeah, but it's like you said, they should have had a decent, a decent up and coming heel out of NXT take it. I would have loved to see Joe and then Ryder because I think the Ryder and Joe dynamic would be really interesting. We haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that coming out with a bunch of good matches, with Joe obviously winning in the end.
Yeah.
But I could see Baron Corbin doing the same because right now they have Baron Corbin in this feud with Dolph Ziggler. That doesn't make any sense. It just seems stupid.
It's not going to help either guy.
Nobody cares about it. It's not even a secondary feud. It's like a fourth tier feud. And not to knock Ziggler, but I mean I think Ziggler's currency is kind of low right now. And it has nothing to do with his talent. It's just how many times are you going to pull the rug under us from that push? You know what I mean? It just, in regards to that push, it just, it's, you should, I mean, they should have just put either Corbin or Joe or Aries in that spot. I don't see the need for the Miz anymore. I just don't. I mean, not in the ring. I mean, the WWE is a big media company. They do a lot of cons. They do a lot of stuff like that. A lot of festivals. I mean, Miz could do that. He doesn't.
Well, and I see him sort of like I see Jericho at this point. He's not helping anybody.
Really
not that they're looking to help Ryder anyway. I don't know who they're eventually going to put against the Miz, but I really don't. I don't see how it's going to help. Anyway, it is what it is. So transitioning sort of a bit, the other NXT call up was Enzo and Big Cass, which I thought was awesome. The Vaudevillians seem an odd call up, and I don't say that because I don't like the Vaudevillians. I like those guys. What did you think about the Vaudevillian call up?
The problem with the Vaudevillains is that they're very gimmicky. And that works for a niche crowd like NXT. I don't know how it works with, in a WWE crowd. I mean, they can be great mid-card tag team wrestlers.
Yeah.
I can't see them getting pushed beyond that. Could they be tag team champions? Yeah. But, again, I don't know how that's going to take. But I will say that the wrestling is fantastic. If this is a push to... If this is their way to push the tag team division by bringing up the Vaudevillains and Enzo and Cass, then I'm all for it. I mean, but they need to know what their expectation. the Vaudevillains and WWE need to know what the expectations are and not to shoot way too high for those guys.
Well, and yeah, agreed. And they can be used as like just another tag team until something else happens with them. I don't think that necessarily needs to be the kiss of death for them like it was for the Ascension. And the Ascension creates another gap now.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that one of the Ascension guys is going to be gone. Have they shown what they're going to do with the tag team tournament since then, or no?
I think it's either going to be a buy or they're going to throw in a team together. I haven't really seen the bracket for that recently, but I'll pull it up while we're talking.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, but what did you think of Enzo and Cass coming out? I mean, obviously you went over this, but just a rehash.
Well, a little bit, but I thought it was really good. I think, Enzo and Cass and Apollo Crews, since we're talking about the recent call-ups, like I thought they're using Apollo Crews pretty well.
Yeah,
it remains to be seen what sort of their long-term plan with him is, or if he's just sort of squashing guys just to squash them. So I don't know. Like I said, it somewhat remains to be seen. Do you like Apollo Crews in the ring? I think you do.
Oh yeah, I love Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's ready for any huge push right now. I think he definitely needs to develop in the mid card. But yeah, if they know that and if they kind of work on him a little bit, he's definitely got nowhere to go but up.
Okay, right on. I'm trying to think what else.
I've got the tag team tournament pulled up.
Okay.
Here. It looks like let's see. Well, the Vaudevillains beat the Usos this past Monday, right? Yesterday.
Okay. Yep.
And Enzo and Cass beat the Dudleys, so it's going to be the Vaudevillains versus Enzo and Cass. For the final match in the tournament, which makes me think they're going to have Enzo and Cass versus the New Day, which is going to be a blast to watch.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. See, once again, face heel dynamics not necessarily mattering between those two teams. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's good. They're good in the ring. They're good. Entertainment wise, they're good. So yeah, that's just something to look forward to. Those are the two teams you would want to make it to the end. I assume I could see them doing like a tag team bully thing, like with the Dudleys,
Mm-hmm.
Where they're gonna play spoiler or what have you, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like Dudleys do that role quite well. They did it. They did it in TNA with the Guns. Ray did it himself in TNA for years, which was one of the only good things about TNA at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be kind of entertaining. I made the point on the podcast, what they're doing with what they've done with Divas, what they've done and somewhat struggle, but still I think kind of continue to do with the main roster, which is just improve the talent overall.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see that happen with tag teams, and I kind of got that. Like almost like an hour after I said it, we did the predictions for the next year, like literally an hour before Raw started. And that was also great because Joel said he could see Apollo Crews and the Vaudevillains not getting called up. Wait, was it? Oh no, Enzo and Cass. He said Enzo and Cass and Apollo Crews, and then that exact Raw, they both get called. They both get called up. So that was kind of fun.
You should.
Oh boy!
Did you ask? Joel? How it feels to be so wrong all the time?
So wrong all the time. Yeah, exactly. Well, I was a guest in his home. His lovely wife made me a cake. I held back a little bit. What else? I don't think. Is there anything else main roster wise that I'm kind of missing?
I don't think so. I think we're definitely ready for that one topic that I think both of us are both dreading and excited to talk about.
My God. So TNA. This is somewhat breaking as of the time of this podcast recording. This probably won't be a long topic, but it's an enjoyable topic.
Mm-hmm.
So TNA, just to fill anybody in,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably like most people who don't care or know about TNA. TNA switched networks at the beginning of this year to this thing called Pop. That's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pop. They have hired a production company to kind of help with their online social media production of the TV show and stuff like that. They're apparently going through money struggles. This is all if you believe what you read. Okay. Some of this came from PW Insider. Some of it came from Meltzer. So again, this is all, pending confirmation. So if you're going to sue us, just fuck off. And apparently the agreement that they've made with this media company, which is called Aerolux, is that if TNA misses a payment by so many days, which they have apparently done, then Aerolux gets majority of control of the company. Where this story gets even better, and I don't know if you have read this or not, do you know who the wrestlers that are involved with Aerolux?
No.
The Harris brothers.
Really?
Yes. The Harris brothers are heavily involved with Aerolux, which is how they got involved in producing TNA's online presence, TV show, etc. So now I'm no genius, but I've done a fair bit of work in corporate finance. Aerolux doesn't make that deal unless they want control of TNA. Think about it for a second. Think about if they said, "Hey, Trashy Ring Attire, we need you to produce this for TNA, and we're going to pay you." And we say, "Okay," and then we need, typically you need some sort of you need some sort of a recourse legally built into that deal that we can use if they don't pay us. Now, if they came to us and said, BD and Kue, if we don't pay you, you can have majority share of the company. Well, if they can't pay us, why the fuck? If they're in such a shitty position that they can't pay us, why the fuck do we want control of their company? So this was if this is all true, this is an extremely strategic move by Aerolux, and the implication there is that Aerolux wanted them to miss a payment, because they can take control of the company without having to put a fucking dime into it. So this is all to be determined. PW Insider and Meltzer reported it. They've been wrong on TNA stuff before because the sky's always falling with TNA. And TNA, to give them credit, they're kind of like cockroaches. They always seem to survive the apocalypse. They don't necessarily come out better for it, but they do manage to survive it. So this may not happen. But pretty fascinating if you consider that no company is going to agree to that unless because any respectable company in the world, unless they're specifically looking to run a wrestling company and own a wrestling company, they're not going to accept that clause. Because why would they want that? It's like, no, I think we'll just take you to court for the money. No, we want to run your wrestling company. Because if they're not looking to do that, if you run that up a chain, you're like, why the hell would we want that? We want to inherit a company that's in such a shitty position they can't pay us for our services? No fucking thank you. As opposed to the money we could get for those services.
So are you?
This gets.
Hang on. Go ahead.
The best part of this is still to come, because there's something that I don't know if you know about the Harris brothers. They are apparently neo-Nazis.
Yeah, that's what Sanders had mentioned.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd never heard that about the Harris brothers, but not trying to judge a book by its cover, but visually it's not too much of a stretch. Right? Okay. So in all the fun I've had with TNA over the years, which is years before we started this show, years before I got involved with the Classy Guys, there is no better ending for this Dixie Carter-led decade for TNA, especially after the last few years. You got Hogan, you got Bischoff, you got the Hardys, you got them changing TVs, and it ends with them being bought by Nazis. It is even I could not have scripted something that hilarious. I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I mean it's
I hate to give credence to rumors. Now, I think this might be beyond a little bit of a regular rumor, but again, this is all to be true. But the situation that TNA is in, would this surprise you that much?
No, not at all.
Because the other thing about that deal is TNA has to be dumb enough to sign that deal. Any lawyer, like if TNA wants to maintain control of their company, then any lawyer who let them sign that deal should be shot and their corpse fired. Like, that is an incredibly shitty deal. If they didn't want to lose control of the company and they signed that, that's a hilarious way to lose control of your company.
That's why I feel like it's not necessarily like when I heard that when Sanders actually brought this up and we were in the midst of talking about this, that just didn't seem right. I mean, not that TNA, Dixie Carter, and Jeff Jarrett have always had the most savvy of business senses, but it just, I feel like that's kind of fundamental. That would be fundamentally stupid. Like,
well, those deals do exist, though. Just so you know, those deals do. If you can't pay us, we inherit majority control of your company. Those deals do exist, and they do happen in the real world. They tend to happen with startups, and they tend to happen with companies that have a lot of assets that the company that takes over could realize on if they were in such a dire position that they could make back some of that money. But that's not the case here. Maybe it was a case of Aerolux being incredibly stupid to make that deal. Who knows? The other somewhat interesting footnote about this is that the Harris brothers are extremely tight with Russo and Jarrett.
Interesting.
So that could be them back in TNA. Who even knows? It is a really interesting story. Like, you can't get this much good shit in any other form of it, or like in any other company in the world. TNA is just insane. It's like it's the reality show that you're afraid to watch when there's no presidential debates on.
Well, and that's what is so striking to me, that, like, you know, I feel like the instinct would tell me, just natural inclination would tell me, no way this deal was signed. But then you have to take into account that it's TNA.
Yeah, I know, that's the best thing about it.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know what this means for the future of the company.
I don't care.
I mean, isn't it about time to kind of give this up?
Well, yeah, that's what the other thing that is, you know, because there were rumors about Dixie negotiating to try to get some money into the company even before this Aerolux story came out. Mm-hmm. And most people who wanted to invest were insisting that they get majority control, and Dixie didn't want to give that up. Mm-hmm. Well, investors don't want to necessarily invest in something that's been going the direction TNA is going in, you know, for the last 10 years. Like, why would you want to throw money into that unless you actually had some sway to try to turn that around, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, like I said, it's such a delicious. I hate being entertained by stuff like this, especially when it's rumors. But it is such a delicious, perfect storm. Mm-hmm. And with TNA, what else can you really? What else is there to enjoy? Talent-wise, the only thing Eli Drake's okay. The Wolves are great. There's really nothing there other than that to watch. Mm-hmm. I mean, not that I'm not always up to date on the show itself, because the company is. They could just turn the company into a reality show, and I would watch it over the actual TNA wrestling show. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So that's that. Mm-hmm. That's that. Before we shut the show down for today, we should go over the Trashy Ring Attire Open.
Yes, we should, definitely.
So congratulations, because we haven't had a chance to say it on air yet. Congratulations to Mr. Gojira. I know you really wanted to beat Gojira.
Yeah, well, Goji's a very formidable opponent, and I'm just glad that he and Joel had a very good fight at the top, and you know,
they had a spirited fight till the end there.
To be completely honest, he kind of Zack Rydered this whole thing, because I kind of figured Joel would take this Open pretty easily.
Well, and congrats to Joel for being ahead for most of the year. If it wasn't for the Rumble, Joel would have won by 1 point. Mm-hmm. That being said, Joel, I fucking told you Triple H was going to win. I fucking told you. Everybody knew Triple H was going to win. So, yeah, congrats to Joel. He was in front for most of the year. He came in second, and congrats to friend of the show, Mr. Sawyer, for coming in third. Mm-hmm. I will send the DVDs to you, gents. Actually, Joel will send them. I left them with him. And don't feel too bad for Joel, because he had like 2 weeks with the DVDs at his place before he's going to send them out. So he still gets to watch them, and he could rip them if he wanted to. Not that we're endorsing that behavior. So yeah, congratulations to everybody. It was super fun. We're doing it again. We're doing it again for 2016, and it's very exciting. We have tweeted out the link to the article where the rules are. There's 12 pay-per-views. We're still going to stay away from the specials and NXT just because it's a lot of work and we don't get paid. So yeah, sign up there. It looks like we've got a pretty good crowd in so far. Heather's going to join us this year. We've got a few other people. I'm trying to get Penny to join. So yeah, looking forward to that. A little bit of a different point system this year. Regular matches are 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
How did I do this? Title matches are worth 2 points. World title matches are worth 3 points. Money in the Bank matches are worth, the Money in the Bank match is worth 4 points, and the Royal Rumble is worth 5 points. So that's that. You know, it should spread out the points a little bit this year because it's going to make it interesting. It's going to make it harder for anybody to get like an insurmountable lead. It'll also make it a little harder for anybody to fall totally behind.
That's true.
Unless you miss pay-per-view, don't miss any pay-per-views, people. I'm not going to hunt you people down all the time. So watch. We're going to make sure that the opens are up the Friday of the pay-per-view. So you'll have a couple of days before pay-per-view time to vote. And what am I missing anything? I don't think I am.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think you got everything. Remember, voting is the only way that you can win. So,
yes,
you know, definitely vote. Vote with the passion that most people vote for their primaries. And also, you know, if you're voting in your primaries, vote for your best interests, i.e. Bernie Sanders. But, you know, that's just not to endorse anyone.
Well, you're fighting for something important here. First place is 4 Daniel Bryan Ring of Honor DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
Second place is 3 Kevin Owens DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
And third place is Ring of Honor Year 2 DVD.
And I'm gonna throw in another prize. We're gonna do this on a monthly basis for every pay-per-view. Whoever seems to have the most correct out of the pay-per-view will get a T-shirt of their choosing from WWE.com, courtesy of Trashy Ring Attire.
Wow!
And if we let's say, get a tie, we'll definitely draw names out of a hat and pick at random. Obviously,
yeah, or one of you can have the shirt on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the other ones can have it Tuesday, Thursdays, Saturdays, and alternating Sundays.
You guys can work out the shipping details.
You guys can work out that. Again, we don't get paid for this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just for fun.
Exactly. So,
all right. Well, is there anything else going on at Payback that we haven't really covered already?
I don't think so. I think
so.
We got everything.
Bret Hart's going a little bit crazy. Every single day now, he says something crazy. I'm having fun with that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about starting an old man Bret Hart Twitter account.
I think that would be fantastic.
Basically, just fill it with Grandpa Simpson rants.
What has he said recently that's been crazy? Because I feel like I've agreed with him on a lot of what he said.
Well, it's just I think it's more the fact that it's every day now, and he just sounds so cranky. He's like, "Oh, they wasted my sharpshooter. I invented the sharpshooter." Bret Hart didn't invent the sharpshooter. You know, like just a lot of little weird stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He called Vader like fat and smelly and stiff or something like that. Like that's a third of a truth. All right, come on now.
Oh my God.
And Vader, even if he was fat, he was also incredibly talented.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, we should also mention that we're never watching the Hall of Fame again.
No, never that.
I've never have, and I never will again. Joel did warn me.
Also,
he did warn me.
I'm going to throw this out too. As a Trashy Ring Attire new wrestling year resolution.
Yes.
I'm going to try and sell Sami Zayn to our part-time colleague Ben, who does Trash Talk, because he is definitely not sold on Sami Zayn at all. Hopefully this year will kind of prove that sentiment incorrect, because from what he's told me, he says Sami Zayn reminds him of John Cena in the sense that Zayn just gets beat up throughout the whole match, and then at the end he pulls out a couple of moves. And then another thing he said was Sami Zayn will end up like Christian, except and with the same amount of talent. So we'll
Yikes.
yeah. So I'm gonna try and see if I can sell him on Sami Zayn.
A challenge.
By WrestleMania. Hopefully, it won't take that long, but we'll see.
Okay, well, I look forward to that. That's going to be exciting. And I guess we'll probably come to you guys post payback.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and it was great to see you, by the way.
Definitely,
in,
you too.
North Carolina, that was sweet.
Yeah.
We definitely should have done better in laser tag than we did, but that's something to think about for next year, I guess.
Well, next year we probably will be playing laser tag in Orlando, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, I didn't do well in North Carolina humidity. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to be playing laser tag. I've been to Orlando, and it ain't going to be pretty.
No, that should be a lot of fun. Well, I mean, it'll be in April, so hopefully it won't be too
bad. Yeah. All right. Keep your fingers crossed. All right, everybody. We will see. Oh, god damn. I just about forgot the plugs. You can follow us on Twitter at TR Attire. You can follow myself at BD_TRA. You can follow my friend Q at Jonah Q, KUE. You can check us out on Inside Pulse Wrestling and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. That's the easiest way to get new episodes as quickly as they air. Leave us a comment or a rating of 5 stars. We'll feature it on the show. Make sure to vote in the Trashy Ring Attire Open for Payback 2016. It's the first event. Everybody's starting with a clean slate. If you didn't do that well next year or last year, this is your chance. And that's it.
That's it.
Keep it trashy, everybody.
Keep it trashy.
Legacy, ain't had the macho like Randy. The chopper go out to the ground. The nigga pull up your bandit. Hope the killers understand it.